This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
We'll go ahead and commence the Thursday, March 19th, 2026 meeting of the Easthampton Energy Advisory Committee. Jamie Paquette, the chair, Connie Dawson, other longstanding member. Now we have Alex Barrett and Steve Lindsay.
Welcome. Like officially welcome you both.
They're in some sort of nether world.
You can semi-officially.
I don't think I got that.
Okay.
So have been approved by the council. So not now, soon to be a part of the committee, along with Lydia too, I believe. Try to track her down to where they're seeing. But that would be nice to be have a nice, like a 5-member committee. Sophie, the sustainability coordinator, can't be here tonight, so just be us, just going through. Because that's not been all that long since our last meeting. So no members of the public here to speak. Oh, sorry.
Can we approve the minutes?
Yeah. Yes, Connie sent the minutes out. I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve.
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Excellent.
Did you guys get, I wanted to make sure.
I did get the minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're okay, because sometimes I want,
No.
Yeah,
I don't
I looked
put
at
things.
Actually,
properly,
on
so-
that, they were excellent, Connie, but I don't know, there's an AI function here. Did you use that AI function to?
To write the minutes for me, I don't know how to do that. I would love to
I
learn
think,
how to do
let's
that,
make it
but
so much easier.
Yeah. I just don't know how to do
Informally, I
that.
guess, would ask that we should explore that so that it just makes it easier. There's no
Sounds
reason
good
not
to me. Who would I approach to show me how to do that? And
I know on, well, I'm certain, well, okay.
I mean, I know how to look at the
No,
transcript.
I can
We
ask.
don't want to post the transcript. That's all I know how to do, is look at the transcript.
That's not, oh, well, it's just, it either will take kind of notes or you can work off the transcript. I don't know. I have to find out. I will explore. I will check with
Thank you.
IT.
That would be great.
Okay, I'll ask.
Thank you.
what-
Well, I can do that. Just contact IT
I
here.
don't mind doing it.
Okay, thanks. All right.
I'd like to know. anyway,
Okay.
So,
All right. Great. Moving on.
Okay. I did, just noticing that Sophie did email me a list of updates, so.
Oh, great.
Try to get to those. I'll try to sprinkle those in
Okay,
at
great.
the appropriate parts here. Public speak, we don't have any members of the public present, so we can move past that. We talked a little bit about our committee updates. You have several new members. So excited for that. On the bees committee side, I don't have anything new to update there. We have our meeting for that next week, so we're a little bit ahead of that one.
if you don't mind, just to be clear exactly what that is and what the meeting is about.
The bees committee?
Yeah.
So the bees committee is biodiversity, environment, and ecological sustainability. I think I'm saying that wrong.
Okay.
So it's another city committee that I'm a part of. It was originally created by a former city councilor, and it's in the charter. It's basically like there's supposed to be a member from this committee, one from the conservation committee,
That's it.
one from agriculture committee, a city council member, and then several members of the public.
Okay.
So I've sat in that role since it was created as the representative from this committee on that, because there's overlapping interests and subject matter there. I will say actually one thing the Bees Committee is considering doing is to amend the charter. I maybe mention this or to change the makeup of that, so it's no longer going to be required to have members of other committees, or maybe one. And it'll be more, and they're trying to open it up to a larger number of people.
Oh, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, because there seems to be a lot of interest, and right now there just hasn't been a lot of room on the committee to add people. So it was created again. There was, because there's a lot of common interests, I guess, with again, some of the stuff that we do, some of the stuff conservation does, just in dealing with overall. One of the main things they've done is we're officially like a bee city through this sort of organization called the Xerces Society, which basically is like we've taken measures to support like native pollinators and plants and things like that. And so one other thing that these communities working on like a native plant garden, like demonstration on the bike path behind Eastworks or behind the mills over there, doing that in conjunction with a Girl Scout troop, a local Girl
Right.
Scout troop. So there's a little bit of money that they've received to do
I
that.
would note if it wasn't already noted, so, at the community garden,
Mhm.
we do have a pollinator plot.
Oh, nice. This is out on Park Hill
Yeah.
Road up there. Okay.
So, and so then maybe someone, the person who is in charge of it may be very interested in perhaps
Oh, yeah.
joining this committee or whatever.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Is there a specific person who does manage that?
Yes.
Okay. Who is it? Just-
Well, I'd rather just,
Sure.
if you're telling me that, look, the committee's looking to do that, I
Yeah.
can explore before I give a name and.
Fair enough.
Because I just want to be fair to her.
Right. No, that makes sense. Yeah. So there's some great people on that committee who really know. I'm not a plant person really at all.
Oh, she knows.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Alex and Connie at the March 7th event, the Bees folks were also there. So we got to do a little intermingling.
When is their next meeting? Next week?
Next week, I think on Wednesday, I believe. So, yeah, so that's some quick updates there. They also do things like invasive removal. So they've been doing a series of invasive plant removals along the
We have that
path and
too.
things like that. Yeah,
At the garden, so we
Yeah,
have our share of it.
I'm sure. Yeah, everyone does. I've got bittersweet all around my house too. Okay, so let's see, update from the sustainability coordinator. I had that because I knew she would not be here. I guess the main thing I'll mention here is that Hannah, who's been the energy advocate, is apparently leaving.
I'm
Put
sorry.
in notice, I guess, a week or so ago, and looks like we'll be working through next week.
That's too
26th.
bad.
It is that they're taking a full-time position
Makes sense.
with an energy management company. So, yeah, they've been trying to get the extra funding to make that more of a full-time role. But Sophie says she met today with the team working on Empower application, and they decided to move forward with applying to fund the stipend solar advocate role and not try to acquire full-time funding for a vacant position.
Wait, I'm sorry. Would you say that one more time?
Yeah, and I can forward this to you so you can pull it.
Okay, do that. That'd be easier.
Yeah, it just says, we've met with the team working on the Empower application. So originally they were trying to get additional funding to make Hannah's role full.
Yes.
But now that that's going to be a vacant position, I think they're going to move to trying to do a solar advocate role. And they're going to work with the city to get the part-time position reposted. And
So they're gonna repost the part-time position and then have a separate, also part-time.
sounds like it. Yeah, this is where Sophie would have to clarify a little bit.
You can check the,
Yeah, I am confused about that,
Yeah.
about what the solar advocate position is. I thought the funding for all this was coming from Eversource. I thought Hannah's position was funded by Eversource, right?
No, partially. Because it's the Community First Partnership, which is the one that we did. That's like through Mass Save. That's like Mass Save,
Oh, okay,
money,
right, mass, okay,
which is
massive,
yes, which
okay,
is EverSource money.
Okay.
But the other part was the Columbia Gas settlement, which is what paying for the Electrify Easthampton, Northampton.
Oh, and some of her
program.
salary was coming from that?
Some of that was reserved for
Okay.
payment of
Okay,
staff. Yeah.
okay.
But it
So
was-
then the solar advocate, that's a different
apparently,
grant
yeah,
that they're gonna
yeah,
apply
through
for.
Empower, which.
Okay, I think I read that rings a bell from the last meeting, but it's also confusing.
Yeah. So sorry, I'm trying to read off my phone here. No, that's it's some sort of markup thing where it's all.
Oh, okay.
It's just thinking, drawing on this as I try to read it. Is discard changes. There we go. Okay. Also mentioned a potential for green communities funding to support the solar advocate stipend instead. Keep us posted on what they decide.
So Empower, that is an organization that helps communities, municipalities get grants. What is Empower?
I wish I knew 100%.
But it's not sort of, it's like is the city paying Empower money to work with us to get grants?
I
I just don't understand what our relationship is with them.
All right, so Empower looks like it's ringing a bell now. It's run by Mass CEC.
Oh,
So they
Okay.
Multi-stage investment
there you go.
in communities.
okay, so it's
Organizational capacity.
so it's not a private
No.
okay, okay, all right, thank you.
Here we go. Yes, I remember her mentioning this now when we were at the library annex.
Okay.
So that is in the works. Okay. I'll sprinkle in some more of these updates as we go. All right, so the public outreach events, just mention real quick. So we did our event on March 7th. It's nice to get everybody out together there. We had a few interesting parties show up. We had people with agendas show up. We had very specific things they wanted to talk about, or not necessarily what we were trying to do, but it was a good time to be able to all of us commiserate too, and to get sort of different committees together and time with Sophie. I actually did sign up for the Electrify Easthampton Northampton program, and I took home what hopefully will be some plants that'll be in my yard soon. So they gave away some seeds, and we had a couple people inquiring about various things and some nice demonstrations. I appreciated your extensive bike demonstration.
Oh, right, yeah. E-bike?
Yes.
I'm sorry I was away.
That's all right.
I had
Yeah.
EV, my e-bike. But, so how many folks, what would you say,
A handful.
Yeah, it's
Like
Maybe like 10 or so.
10?
I think even
throughout the
10 might
day.
be
10 might be pushing it.
exaggerated.
Stretch it a little bit, maybe. But I think what we found, one of the things we were talking about there, and people were jumping with their thoughts, is that tough being a standalone event like on a weekend when there wasn't some other like attraction there. It's of course very different if there's like a bigger fair going on. But even when we did the previous EV one, Connie, right, out here in the parking lot, like we had trouble with that, even though that was part of like Winterfest.
Yeah, it was in the middle of winter, but actually there were, I think there were more people who came to that because they were strolling by.
Right.
And that's what we didn't have.
Yeah.
People around for
Right.
different
But
reasons.
even
Like,
with people strolling by,
But there weren't a lot of people there.
it's tricky,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
I mean, the engagement, getting word out, getting people there, or offering something that people want. I think there is a space for that type of peer coaching. I think that's a good model for how to disseminate information, how to talk to people, and no pressure kind of thing. It was great to have a bunch of different perspectives on things as well.
You were hinting at, so can you report any more fully about the folks that were raising issues that we were?
Oh, no, it was just it was just like somebody that had been to one of our meetings before that had a very specific issue with heat pump maintenance and those sorts of things. And then there was a nice couple there too, but they had already done like a lot of the work in the house, and they were just like talking about all the stuff they had already done, which is great. But they had some questions about things too, about sort of like next level stuff. So it was there was some preaching to the converted happening as well.
I guess I was just thinking about this. Obviously, it would be great if we could be at other events, although there aren't that many events really that we can. What events are there? There's no.
There's the farmers market.
There's the farmers market. That's true. But what I was going to say is the other way to think about this is to start just having something that happens on a regular basis that people sort of, I've been meaning to go to that. I don't know if we want to commit ourselves to doing that, but that would be the other way to handle it.
Yeah. Well, they're not exclusive. I mean,
No.
I my guess is what you're describing is that it'll be more than just having kind of set times that people know, oh, they're having the first Saturday of every month
Yeah.
or whatever. That might drive a little bit, but I think you need to, I agree with the thinking about attaching it to something that's just going
Yeah.
to drive more people.
Well, there's the farmer's market. We're not gonna have, I can't say the name of it. The thing that, the spring
Cultural
festival,
chaos.
yeah,
Right,
that's not gonna
cultural chaos,
happen,
yeah.
it's too bad. So what else is there?
Right.
I mean, I'd be comfortable just sort of keeping our eyes open for future opportunities. We could definitely in the summer in nice weather do an event at the farmers market if people are, you know, sort of motivated to do that. I definitely do not have the bandwidth for standing, you know, drop in hours. I mean, I feel like I could wear a button and people could ask me at any point of the day, but
Yeah, it would be a big commitment. I agree.
Yeah, but I think we could keep our eyes out for other sort of events happening in Easthampton where it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they do, you know, for instance, like in the fall, they do like the harvest festival in the park. And like there's usually vendors and stuff there with tents and things
Okay,
like that.
that's
Would
true.
be a place that like you could capture a pretty good cross section.
Yeah.
There's some other stuff that they do too. There's like I think there's like a spring one.
Yeah, and I don't know if they're going to organize another Sunday next year, sort of Bill McKibben's.
Like a birthday.
He has something that's like just very focused on sort of clean energy and renewables. They did it.
But they did that in Easthampton?
No, they did it in Northampton last year,
Oh,
and Easthampton did not
okay.
have one. So that's.
Okay.
I don't know that. I necessarily want to start the committee with organizing one, but if
Right.
people were sort of, if someone regionally was interested in like an Easthampton branch of it, then, you know, that would be a place where that kind of, they had vendors there, some heat pump vendors, they had a bunch of solar vendors.
Right.
Well, that's the other thing that we have never done is to invite vendors and have an event where we invite vendors.
Right.
I don't know if we want to do that, but
It's a possibility.
It might be trickier for the city to host that relative to something else, because then
Right.
if I were a vendor, I would have questions about why them and not us.
Right.
kind of
well,
thing.
we
So,
couldn't do them and that we
Yeah.
would have to make it an open invitation.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, other thing, there's stuff at Millside Park.
Mhm.
Regularly, I mean, those are, you know, musical concerts, like that's not
Right.
necessarily the
Yeah.
best environment for.
I feel
Those
like
are
there
the-
was
there's-
one year when the planning department had something at one of those events.
Yeah, I believe
Why did they
so.
do that? What was going on?
The redesign for downtown.
No, it
No,
wasn't
something else.
that. I don't know what it
I don't
was.
remember, but I do know that the skate park that's going in there at Millside Park, that there's construction on that is starting soon. They're actually be moving all the concerts from Millside
I didn't know
to
that.
Daly Field by Nonotuck Park. I just found this out Tuesday.
What is the construction that they're doing?
They're putting a skate park in. The skate park's been approved.
Oh, a skate. I thought you were
Yeah.
saying state.
No, a skate.
Skate.
The skate park
Oh,
is going
interesting.
over there. So they're going to be displacing the music and various other things going on.
Huh.
You go for how long?
I think, I don't know exactly. I just heard from somebody who's on the Parks and Rec. But so there'll be stuff going on over at Daly Field, which apparently they're trying to, like, the park is maybe putting in some more infrastructure over there too, like some more buildings and like that. So, yeah, there's, you know, potential for, when the sports leagues are doing stuff.
I was
Yeah,
just
they're
thinking
always-
about that.
Like Little League always had, you know, their opening day, they always have a parade,
Yeah.
like in the park.
I didn't know that.
In the morning, you know, soccer, I think we might be doing some sort of carnival type thing. At the soccer fields, like maybe in May or June, I'm forgetting.
When you were thinking about I was thinking about those, the youth sports.
Yeah,
The only thing about that is unlike the, farmer's market, you know, there is a kind of a quid pro quo in the sense that, you know, remember you're here for that.
Mhm.
You know, but with the sports, people are, it's just like we're deriving the benefit, right? Because the parents are coming to see the kid. You know,
Right.
they're not looking to attract more folks, and then they may see it actually more of a burden than a benefit.
Yeah, well, there's a
What-
big thing going
What would
on.
be the benefit?
Right. So one other thing you could do though is you can just like go, set up in the park. You want to bring like EVs or do like a peer coaching thing, like set up in the tent and table in the park, like near the playground, where you're going to get a bunch of like, kids coming and, parents and things like that, people who might be new homeowners and things, that might be.
I get how that audience would be abused to us, but in terms of having the league's buy-in on it, I mean,
Right.
then why would they do it? We're just taking up space
Right.
that the might be.
Well, we wouldn't necessarily have to get their buy-in depending on what our plans were, like where we were setting up, right? If we could get the parks permission, I mean, I'm on the soccer board, so I could certainly swing that.
They don't have exclusive use during the time in which they have a permit.
Exclusive use of the whole park?
Well, I'm just wondering,
No.
parking and stuff like that.
Only in certain areas, but no, even then it's not exclusive use because now soccer shares it with pickleball. Like there's all the pickleball courts back there. It's always open to the public.
Oh, yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just a thought if we wanted to.
Yeah, we did go to Arcadia last year. Most of the people that strolled by either weren't from Easthampton or already had everything.
Yeah.
It was really kind
Well,
of
it's Arcadia.
amazing. I know.
It's not Walmart.
I know.
I like the idea. No, I mean,
Yeah.
if we could do that, I mean, I think I agree. It's great. I just was thinking that, there may be some sense that we're taking advantage of what the leagues are doing.
Right. Well, I mean, doing something at the co-op could be like another option. I know they always have
Oh, yeah.
things
Yes.
going on
That's
there. And
actually
you're
good
gonna get a
idea.
lot of like, get preaching to the choir there a little
Yeah,
bit.
and they would like that. That's bringing people to the co-op. So I
Right.
think,
Yeah, it can be.
okay.
So there's some other, things we can kick around, as weather warms up and we want to think
Well,
about.
I'll explore co-op and I can
Okay.
explore the farmers market.
Okay. Yeah, I think, doing one or two things at the farmer's market each year or like, a couple times during the summer, or whatever, I think is worth it. Maybe on a Sunday. 'Cause you're going to get, it's not a huge number of people, so it's not gonna be overwhelming, but it's a good number. It's a good, like steady stream. Good to have
Yeah,
good
I feel like,
conversations.
peak harvest, sort of August, September, to get
Mhm.
that's going to be maximum volume of people through there. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see also how attention to EVs in particular, if gas prices stay where they are, that may not be an area where we need to focus our outreach, and it may be more talking to people about. I mean, but it'll do the same thing for oil heat prices too. So,
Right. No, I already saw like, the oil tea. I drove by the Richard sign the other day. I was like, I guess it costs like $5
Was
Wow.
it really?
a gallon or something. Yeah, maybe more now.
I know my.
So yeah, it's something. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people interested in electrifying. Because as much as electricity prices are going up, they're not going up like that.
I know that sometimes communities do invite they invite car dealers to come to events. I mean, if we want to do another car event, we ought to get that organization, the New England Electric Automobile Association. They were at the one that we
Right.
did before.
Right.
Those guys are like totally gung ho, and they know and they know everything about how to get vendors. I mean, the one thing they say about vendors is they usually don't want to come on the weekends.
Mhm.
That's what they told me last time. But I mean, we could just invite some vendors, and then we wouldn't have to could just make it happen. We wouldn't have to actually be around showing our vehicles because they would bring vehicles.
Right.
Just if we want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So just a thought.
Okay. Yeah, there's still, and during the summer too, there's more outdoor stuff happening during
Yeah.
weeks like art walks and stuff like that. Maybe if there's something going on at the old city hall, even
Oh, yeah.
there, like be options. So there's plenty of things that could be considered.
yeah, I mean, I think part of my question is like whether the outreach piece is the big barrier in Easthampton, like people just not knowing. I mean, we're in a window where like alerting people about the mass save incentives, I feel like, because
Yeah.
we're in that sort of special pocket is high value. But in general, I wonder if like, the committee's time would be better spent on like, where are the gaps in charging in town
Right.
and some more structural stuff that would just make it easier for people to feel like, oh yeah, I can get an EV because
Right, the infrastructure.
I know there's a fast charger somewhere in Easthampton if I need it, or there's Like, I don't, is there an EV charger down at the park? I'm just sort of trying to think about, places.
There aren't any fast chargers.
There's no fast chargers in
Right,
Easthampton
I,
at all.
I am aware, that's why.
Just find out sure you do that.
Yeah, school here. Level twos that I'm aware of. But yeah, that's a good point too, is what is the most valuable thing that we can do? And of course, as volunteers, like taking extra time for events and things like that, there's costs there for us, but it is nice to engage with the community a little more directly. That's just a matter of kind of finding that balance and finding the right things to keep trying. So yeah, I don't think we have any obvious next thing for that yet, but we'll keep our eyes and ears open. Maybe next meeting we can sort of suss out when a good time for a farmer's market
Yeah.
exploration, or if you come back with info from the co-op or whatever, I'll know a little more about if we're doing a soccer day, a carnival, and there might be worth having something there. So we'll come back with a few ideas based on that. Move on to the legislative policy updates. I have not seen an update on the H5151. Anyone know more? It passed the House, right?
Yes, it passed the House with a set of really decent amendments. The Mass Save part, as you know, got there are only 19 votes, but our state representative was on the, 17 votes, but our state representative was one of the 17.
So that reduction is in place still.
The cuts are still in the bill, yeah.
Which is very fortunate. And then now it's been very quiet on the Senate side.
Right.
And so that's where the focus is going to be. It will land in conference committee. Everyone expects that, but it's I think everyone's looking to see what Senator Barrett thinking is.
Yeah.
Is our senator still in the National Guard
Yeah.
somewhere?
Okay.
So we don't have a vote for any of this. We can't
Well,
we don't have a senator to vote on this right now,
yeah. Well, no.
right?
Right. Well, it's interesting because Massachusetts is not the only place where I think there's some other states that are looking at cutting back their efficiency programs as well, even Maryland, I think, and some others that are a little surprising. So it's weird that this is kind of the pervading idea. And then also I sent you all that thing from Governor Healy about the new targets for storage and solar and energy efficiency, which is sort of really at odds with something that would cut Mass Save and take that infrastructure.
Well, part of my understanding too is that for quite a while there's been a lot of thought of effectuating some significant changes to the Mass Save program specifically.
Mhm.
Kind of taking it out of the utilities, administrative arm. So even though, and the cuts are allegedly on the administrative end, but it's hard to see what exactly that line would be. But I'm saying this because there are some folks who see that the change to the Mass Save program isn't necessarily in and of itself so bad, and would like to go further to kind of pull out. Really make significant changes to the roles of utilities in the state. We do have a governor who probably understands that better because of being the former attorney general and running the rate, the rate hikes, the rating hearings, etc. How utilities work. So, there remains some optimism in this. So like I said, I think we'll see a little bit of the direction of that when the Senate kind of comes up with it.
Right. I thought maybe there'd be something else that kind of replaces whatever goes away from Mass Save and that shifts it.
Put it under some other rubric and possibly.
So, well, Yeah, I mean, it will remain to be seen. I mean, affordability is at the top of everyone's list right now.
Yeah.
I don't.
If only there
know-
was some program that helped people with their energy bills, by whether I think their houses and replacing their appliances.
But I'm also not well versed enough in sort of like the whole mass save thing to know, like, how much bang for the buck is the program getting, right? And like with the amount that's being spent, what are the returns on that in terms of like savings?
Yeah.
I haven't looked into that.
I think the estimates I've seen are roughly $3 in return for every
Not so
dollar
bad.
invested, and that would, if calculated properly, that should be net of administrative fees and advertising costs and all that kind of stuff, because that's the all-in cost of doing that stuff. So yeah.
Okay.
My students and I are tracking the legislation, so we'll have eyes on it too. They're going to be working on some policy memos. Although none of them, I think, are taking on mass save directly, with the idea that there's a lot of advocates at the Arcadia Center and Neep and elsewhere that are going to be, trying to.
There's also the climate bank bill. There was an effort when 5151 opened up to try to put that in as an amendment. That failed, but that had already been filed, so that wasn't disastrous. And there's also an effort to put that in the governor's bond bill as well. So that's another piece of legislation that's, I think, important.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if there's ever something for us to, again, like, put a letter together for the city or for the committee, whatever.
It was great that the letter went in. I felt really good about
Yeah.
the city speaking up for its interests there. So
All right, let's talk a little bit about the climate action plan, action item review. Kind of where you said you would had some questions for Sophie, or maybe Alex, you said you had some questions.
yeah, so I had a time for another pass through. Let's see. So I organized them by number from her document / report. So one of the things we discussed, I think in a past meeting, was, and I think this is definitely a question for Sophie, the degree to which the city knows where the heat pumps are versus, homes that are heated with fossil fuels.
Right.
For the purposes of
I think that would be great to get that information.
I think it would be great to get the information. I suspect that the utilities are not sharing that level of granular detail with sort of.
I feel like we had this conversation several years ago in another context, and we were told that it's not possible to get that information.
Yeah.
The utilities just will not give it. But that may no longer
That's
be
even
the
if
case.
the utilities always know who has them as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. If
Well,
you're
that's-
administering the Mass Save program,
Right.
you know who got the heat pump rebates.
Sure.
And in particular, you know who got the very large rebates to disable their fossil heating system in return for the maximum size.
So, but the
rebate. So-
utilities don't necessarily get that information.
Well, utilities would also know who a net meter is. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that there was actually some language, and now I can't remember if it was in an amendment or in the bill itself, that would have opened up some of this data for municipalities to sort of understand what's going on in their own districts. So I'll continue to dig on that on the policy side. But I can just put a pin in that for next time as a question for Sophie.
I can, I can.
Okay.
From
Yeah,
And that's in terms of like the climate action plan, like that's lining up with.
with the goal to like thinking about how to address gas leaks and thinking about, expanding citizen access to sort of heat pumps and that kind of thing. So that was the thing on my list. I don't know that this is, again, sort of a urgent priority, but so in 2025, Easthampton adopted the stretch code, right?
Mhm.
And I was wondering if it might be useful for the committee to sort of just get an update from the building inspector on how that's been going. And in particular, there was a note for goal M5 about sort of zero carbon new municipal buildings, and it sort of pointed at the stretch code, but the stretch code is not a zero carbon code.
Right.
So
Wait a minute, say that again about the.
so there's at least three building codes in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
No, I
There's-
mean, the thing you said, I understand about the stretch code, but then what did you say about municipal buildings?
So in goal M5, I think has to do with I don't have the tab open anymore, but goal M5 has to do with sort of climate ready buildings. And I think the sort of note in the file that we were reviewing was, I can pull it up too, sort of suggested that, we had some building codes. I think the more general point is, I'm just sort of curious what the building inspector is seeing in terms of new construction,
Yeah. And the real question about that in my mind is because the stretch code actually is not the problem. The problem is the new codes that came before the stretch code that the contractors are really having trouble with. The new codes that came up in, was it 2024, 2025? Made so many changes to how construction was supposed to be performed without a lot of contractors really having the knowledge and the expertise to complete construction the way they're expected to. The stretch code really was not that much on top of that.
Yeah.
My question would be, are contractors able to do what they're expected to do at this point? Like, have they received the support that they need? And I don't know if that would be the city's responsibility as much as the state's responsibility. But I know that there are courses available, but bigger picture, how are they doing it? This isn't just the stretch code, I think.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So I think I'd just be interested,
It would be
I'm not
interesting
aware of
to know
any new municipal facilities that are on the radar.
Right.
So I think M5 is really less relevant than sort of we've adopted the code and how everything's going.
The Council on Aging would be one.
Yeah.
That is one that's being considered, right?
Yeah.
There's a potential new building for that.
Yeah.
So that would be.
So understanding, is that going to be built to a,
Well, it has to be, it's the
that's-
law.
No, so that's the thing.
Stretch
The specialized energy code is not a fossil fuel free code, nor is it a passive house code, nor is it a net zero code. So it doesn't. It's great in that it improves the energy efficiency of buildings. Like, it is more stringent than the prior codes, and so I think it is.
Right.
It is a definite improvement, which is why the state incentivized so many municipalities to adopt it. But it actually doesn't on its own accomplish any of the goals of M5.
Right.
So the city would have to be sort of proactive about thinking about that.
Right. Okay.
So this is great to have the collective wisdom of the group. So the Council on Aging building, I don't know who we would ask to sort of understand, but that's one of those things where you want to get in very early
Yes,
sort of
very
project
That's
scoping.
another one where we want to talk to the city engineers.
Yeah.
Well, they're still arguing about where they're really going to build it, right?
They are. Well, a site has been selected, or a preferential site has been identified, but not everyone likes it.
This is for what?
For the Council on Aging, a new Council on Aging building, because they want to move out of the old post office.
They haven't thought of just raising that building, I suppose. Maybe it's not a big
Yeah.
enough piece of property.
I don't know. It may also be some sort of historic preservation. I don't know how old that building is, or what have you. But so then what I've heard is that the talk is that it'd be somewhere down by the new school at Mountain View School, somewhere down in that area. And so the main issue a lot of people have is just sort of accessibility, or like it's not really in the fabric of the community. It's like not just kind of isolating in a way.
Yeah, I think
so.
In the interests of both the building serving its primary function and in sort of reducing people driving around and traffic in town and all those kinds of things, it does seem like finding a density site for that would be, the way to go. So anyway, so it sounds like, I would offer up on my review that we should talk to the city engineers about, like, we should find someone who can sort of maybe come talk to us about what they're thinking about the building, both in terms of its site, which has real climate and energy implications, and in terms of like the program for construction. Is the RFP for bids going to include language about its sort of climate and energy performance?
And we'd like them to make it a passive building, obviously.
Yeah, that would be passive house, and that's speaking of complex codes. The great thing about passive house is that there's just two numbers that it's performance based. So It's just two numbers that you have to hit, and it requires design from the ground up because you need better walls and more insulation and all that
I
kind
don't
of
know
stuff.
if it's still the case, but wasn't it at one point the case that there was a lot more money available for passive construction, but that may no longer be the case.
That's the case. So that was my thing on that one.
Okay.
And then I had two sort of visibility questions, which are also maybe Sophie questions, but I think a great sort of collective project would be to understand, I'm trying to get to the appropriate goal, right? So goal M4 is prepare municipal buildings to be net zero ready, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Uh-huh.
And then I was also looking at the goal with respect to electric vehicles for the city,
Uh-huh.
which is, I'll tell you which goal that is. Maybe I can't. Anyway, so there's goals for both the EVs
Uh-huh.
and the buildings. And I got from Sophie that there's a list of like how many EVs we have, but that's actually the less interesting list to me. Like the more interesting list is what are the vehicles we own that are non-electric, and then someone, possibly my students, but somebody else could like sift through that list, and there'll be some stuff on there like heavy construction equipment for which there's not an electrification
Right.
alternative easily ready.
Fire trucks.
But well, they're making electric
Are they?
cars.
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
I'd be saying, I love this.
So anyway, I think just like this is one of those. So I was just visiting a campus that will remain nameless, but they have some energy infrastructure that's going to be. They're going to have to think about retiring in about 6 or 7 years, which is like actually the time at which they have to start planning, because to like have the conversations about how to approach it, and then to do the planning work and hire the consultants and build the plan and then do the construction for the replacement, like they're basically like they have to start now. And I feel like there's a sort of similar thing with buildings. Like there has to be kind of like if you wait until the point of failure,
Right.
then it can be, like you've got to get the systems back online. There needs to be heat in the building or whatever. And so I was wondering if it would be useful to sort of get an inventory where like the heating system in this building is X years old and the one in this building is Y years old, and or last had an upgrade or whatever. And, every water heater, like how old is it? And then you can sort of know when things are going to fail or when the end of useful life
This
is.
has never been done.
I think it has.
I'm asking. I think Sophie indicated that maybe
Wasn't that what
such a thing
A
had happened.
Honeywell thing was?
Quite possibly, they supposedly did, I think, some sort of audit of all the municipal buildings and things like that, whether they were cataloging things according to the way Alex is framing it. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
if that's, or if they were just looking for, here's the obvious things that we could do right now.
Well,
Yeah.
that
Not
was
necessarily
part
like
of it.
planning
Yeah.
6-7 years down the road.
Right. I mean, right. There's the low hanging fruit is like, where haven't we done LED upgrades and those
Right.
kinds of things. And that's all very worthwhile, and we should jump on that stuff immediately because the payback is like 2 years. It's great for the city.
Currently happening at the high school.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
When we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I was sort of thinking of like, I'm just wondering if the city has visibility on this sort of longer term plan of like, okay, the next building that's going to need like a major furnace upgrade is this one. Like, we should start asking now, like, are heat pumps viable for a building of this size and sort of program, or, is there something else we can do, kind of thing, or, same thing with like water heaters, it's like,
Right.
if we know that there are alternate vendors, or like, is there something that you would want to do with the electrical so that when the thing fails, you can put in a heat pump, like, I think there's just questions about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that kind of thinking about the sort of sequencing is on my mind in the same way of like,
Yeah, I think that's.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think
Yeah.
that would be wonderful if we could make that happen.
and maybe it already exists. So
Right.
if it's already happened, then I would love to look at it. And I think we could
Yeah.
discuss it in the same way we're talking about the climate action.
Yeah, and so that is probably something that Sophie would have some insight into, like, because I don't know, I would assume DPW would maybe be the repository
Yeah.
for something like that. So let's
Yeah.
put a pin in that to discuss with her, and she, again, you will have some insight into some of the
Right.
things that are going on, or that may be upcoming that we don't know about.
And that would be, both for sort of municipal buildings and the housing authority buildings.
Right.
I think you would want to sort of think about.
Yeah, so no, sorry, the housing authority has its own sort of separate.
M9.
Yeah. Which, I don't think we've ever had any engagement with them. Our committee's not engaged with the housing authority at all, so I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Maybe we should meet with the housing authority.
maybe we
Yeah.
should,
Um,
yeah,
Yeah, I wonder what the infrastructure is for those buildings. It would be useful
right,
also just to shine a light on it,
Right.
just in general. Yeah.
yeah. So, the housing authority is always.
I'm happy to take a crack. I know nothing about the Easthampton Housing Authority, but I'm happy to reach out to them and say, I'm on the EAC, and would somebody willing to come to the meeting and talk to us about, talk to us about their building stock, which I suspect is older and,
Right.
could be a mix of things depending on when it was built.
Okay.
So,
And
Yeah.
just looking at this, we talked about this a little bit last time and we kind of blithely said, well, the actions include who would be in charge of taking action.
yeah,
And, it says the municipal departments have the required authority. Well, yeah, but really it needs to be more focused than that. And that's where that's what we should be doing, I think, is sort of
Right.
getting that information pulled together and
And
then
then helping prompt them to,
seeing what we can do to help them
Yeah.
follow through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's really important.
and one other thing on the vehicle side is I know that the city has moved more into leasing
Mhm.
vehicles.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that affects the ability to do.
it's actually more favorable for the leasing, I think.
We
because there's
think so,
still
yeah.
Tax credits, so.
Right, and because, it's shorter term, you don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
Any sort of long term.
Yeah.
Care and whatever. Okay, so anybody have anything?
I got more.
Go.
So, okay, great. I don't want to monopolize the meeting.
Go ahead.
But,
Feel free.
so there was M10, which is the zoning one.
Right,
And, that is probably broader than our remit, but I don't know if anyone knows when the last, sort of effort to look at the sort of zoning code in a systematic way. There's sort of newer models of zoning. I haven't looked at the code since I worked out with my students in the fall, but some towns in Connecticut and other places have gone with form-based zoning, which sort of tries to sort of establish the kind of density, mixed use kind of density kind of stuff. So I can, we can, that was just a question about when that had happened.
It's form-based, form,
Form-based, yeah, I think it's,
FORM.
yeah, I think that's what they're called. I'm not an expert on zoning, I won't pretend to be.
I haven't heard that.
Form-based code,
Form-based code.
share a resource with the group. Yeah, so that's, so that was one area where I had a question reviewing the plan. I think there's plenty we could do a bunch of meetings in a sort of understanding where we are on this one, because there was also one about M13, which was sort of diesel off-road and handheld equipment.
Right.
We've done some of this work at Smith, we're using a bunch of we have an electric mower that the Botanic Garden runs, electric leaf blowers for some applications, electric chainsaws are sort of feasible. And I just, I wouldn't know unless we asked, every time they have to purchase new equipment, are they evaluating electric options? Have they
Right.
ruled them out based on a bad experience 5 years ago, a la heat pumps 20 years ago?
Yeah, that'd be interesting for Parks and Rec.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
They do the cemeteries and stuff as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I wonder, and I know a couple of people on the Parks and Rec Commission. So
Oh, that would be great.
could ask them if that's something that ever comes up or
Yeah.
how they handle that, or if they just sort of like, here's the pot of money to do
Yeah.
what you need to do.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I'm kind of interested in this question about like what's the default and how are decisions being made? Like
Right.
the answer on EVs is like every time we go out to buy a vehicle, someone is asked, like, have you spec'd an electric version for either leasing or purchase?
Right.
That's kind of the optimum. And then if people come back and they're like, listen, we talked to someone 2 towns over and the ones that are available aren't working out well for them, or it's like the premium that you have to pay
Yeah.
is vastly larger than the savings that I'm comfortable with people having,
Yeah.
the staff
I know
having
that
decision
happened
flexibility.
with the
But
Council on Aging. We
Yeah.
asked, I went and talked to the Council on Aging a couple of years ago, and they actually wanted to get an EV van.
Yeah.
But there wasn't one available that was a handicapped van.
right, yeah.
So there literally was nothing out
This
there
kind
that
of
they
stuff
could
happens all the
purchase. So,
But the market is moving so fast
Right.
that like, whereas 2 years ago, that
Right.
thing, I distinctly remember giving a talk in a class where we were talking about how there was a student who was a farmer in class and she was like, I can't buy an electric pickup truck. And like, that is not the case
Not the
anymore.
case, yeah.
So let's see. And then I promised to move through the rest of them quickly.
that's
So,
okay.
so on M16, which is the bus one,
Yeah.
I have some students who are sort of motivated to look at that this semester. So they're going to pick up, blanking on his name. He used to serve on the EAC, worked at Amherst.
John Pepe?
John, yeah. So
Yeah.
John has shared his materials
Yeah.
on that. I think it is probably a policy fix. Like there might be some stuff that happens at the state level to sort of empower leasing companies to
Right.
Well,
make the
that
transition.
really is the big issue, is
Yeah.
that, and John really put so much
So much
energy
time.
into it.
So
And when it really came down to it, was just that if we lease, there's nothing out there.
Yeah, so that might be an area where like we identify it, we see if other jurisdictions have sort of solved it at the policy level, and then the, EAC or EAC in the city could sort of reach out to the local delegation and say, hey, here's a fix that we think would help us. And like,
Yeah.
we can dig up how many school districts lease their buses. I know some people that might help with that. And so
Right.
that was the thing there.
Yeah, we got pretty far with that, to the point where we were like talking to the school committee, and I
Yeah.
had school committee members on board
Yeah.
supporting a move in some way. And
Yeah.
like,
Well,
we
the
were
one
even going to talk, he was talking to Northampton and Hampshire, because we all use the same
Right.
company.
Yeah, that was the other thing we thought, was that another issue was that we were so small, and that it might require us
Yeah.
getting together with some other local school systems to see if we had a
And
big
we
enough.
did inquire with some of those vendors that do the programs, like
Yeah.
the lead that have the fleets, and then like these slow.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'd be wonderful if somebody wanted to pick it up again.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
great.
It is
Sure.
tricky because it doesn't, yeah. Funding for that is already been taken up, or is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
older,
But the thing is, the company that owns Durham is a British company, and they use electric buses in England.
Yeah.
So they would not be averse to it if we could figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
So,
that's definitely one.
Yeah, so I'll delegate that one,
Right.
on the teaching side of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at M17, which is sort of bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure improvements. And again, folks here or Sophie may have a better sense, but I get the sense that some communities have sort of like bike infrastructure master plans, or they set default guidelines like, hey, if we're reworking a road, then we're going to add bike infrastructure to it. That's sort of in European capitals that have sort of really developed a bunch of biking. That's just their policy, is like, we're tearing up a road. It gets a sort of traffic diet that's consistent with its use case. And then, we build in some bike infrastructure, and, the first couple of times you do it, it just creates these little like islanded strips. And then, but if you do it over a decade, then you end up with, more infrastructure. So I don't know if we have a collective plan there. I can put that on my Ask Sophie list.
Yeah, that's
I don't
probably
think
good.
so.
I mean, certainly when they redid Union Street, there was some consideration for that.
Yeah.
And then, as they've done the main street stuff,
Yeah.
they've tried these different configurations.
Yeah.
I think sometimes that's been a part of it. And,
Yeah.
and you may remember, like, over just right out here
Yeah.
on Williston Ave, they did that test that one year where they put like a
Yeah.
separate bike lane and
Yeah.
like narrowed the road, and nobody really cared for that.
Yeah.
But again, is there a comprehensive like top down?
Yeah.
thing about that, I don't
Is
know.
it,
We've had some changeover in the planning department too. Like I know when Jeff Bagg was the city planner, he was definitely like a complete streets kind of advocate
Yeah.
and forward thinking with that, but I don't know what the current group, like where they're at.
on the pedestrian side, there had been a lot of talk, and I lost track of it, about once the new complex, the school complex was
Mhm.
completed, which it has been, that there would be, a walking,
Like a safe route to school.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was talk
What happened?
on Park Street. There was again, they had done a bunch of studies on like how to make that more friendly, so to help that be part of the route for
It's gonna go through,
walking.
it was gonna go use the trails.
Yeah, and then there was right. It was going to come from the bike path where the bike path kind of gets to like the hockey rink there at Williston, and then like connect to Park Street, and like they were going to redo the sidewalks or something. There was definitely some study that was done, and like because they were going to have to remove trees and like. So they did a fairly comprehensive look at that.
I thought that was
more for,
gonna
like, walking. I
happen,
don't know
but
if for biking.
Well, the other part was through the Nantucket, those
Right.
trails.
Right. Yeah, and they've put signs in there that say, this way to Mountain View School, like with some of the existing trails. And I think they redid some of the bridge, the things were over to like more swampy areas. And that, I've heard people complain that it's not, as much as they might say it's like, ADA friendly or like that, it's not really helpful for people with disabilities.
I'm sure that's true,
Can't really use it.
well, I mean, neither are the sidewalks. I mean, it's not,
Right.
if you ever, I pushed a baby carriage around for several years and discovered what it would be like to be disabled. And it is not possible to walk from where I live, which is like a mile and a half from the center of town, on sidewalks and crosswalks.
Right,
It is physically, there are not crosswalks that match up with where the sidewalks are. They just aren't.
Right.
And it's very dangerous for
Yeah.
some. I mean, when I see a handicapped person, in a wheelchair thing on the street, I get it. It's the only way to get there. And
Right.
literally, it's very dangerous.
Right.
Don't know what to say about that, but it is. It's a problem.
Yeah, and it's a problem in a few different areas.
We should, be nice to follow up, at least to understand where
Yeah.
we're at here. I don't know who else is charged with.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be really great to have someone from Public Works Planning
Yeah.
come hang out and talk about some of this. I mean, there may be things in the works that we just don't know
Yeah,
about.
that's
Right.
That's why we would do this.
Like when we had Cassie working with this thing, she was in the planning department.
Right, all the time. She knew what was going on.
Which
yeah.
is great, but then we didn't have any, it's like DPW as much.
Right.
So it's great that Sophie's there, but now we've kind of lost that connection to planning a little bit. And
Yeah.
where all this stuff is concerned, planning should be front and center with a lot of this. And again, I don't know how much of this they're internalizing or using in their day to day.
And then my last thing, which I will just put on my long-term to-do list with no promises that I will do it before our next two meetings, is like I could just reach out to Zipcar and any other car share organizations. Zipcar is the only one that I'm aware of that
I
operates
saw one in Easthampton
in
the other
Western
day.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess they're on the Smith campus, right?
They're on the Smith campus, yeah. And, campuses are an easy case for them because they got a bunch of people who live without cars. So having one of those there, and so maybe, the answer is like, yeah. So I don't know if there's like a case, but I bet some of the Williston students drive and,
Right.
so,
Well, there's right. The Williston students, and then also, there's all new housing stock going in, and a lot of it being like affordable housing. Both on Pleasant Street there, and like that the huge complexes going in off of Route 10.
So anyway, so
Yeah,
sort
it'd
of
be interesting.
reaching out to them
Yeah.
and sort of saying, hey, this is on our to-do list, is to have a sort of car share option. And, and then there's all the follow-up conversations about like, can the city offer a parking spot somewhere, that kind of thing. But I think first you would want a vendor who's like, we reran the numbers for Easthampton and we think you could support one car, two cars, whatever. But it only has to be, one car that's consistently reliable for multiple people.
We start with that, and who
Yeah.
knows how many people would take advantage of it if it was available.
Right.
Yeah.
What about the the urban canopy? I know that you have students who are working on that.
Yeah, I think that one, obviously my student project is listed as the sort of ongoing work there. And Sophie had that, she mentioned at the last meeting that she's using the materials we prepped to put in for a grant in the fall. So that one wasn't on my priority list because Sophie's going to put in for a grant. And if we get the grant, then we would actually have the primary recommendation from my students, which was to develop a urban tree inventory.
That'd be
And
great.
then, if the grant also paid for some work on that front or some community outreach, and, I may come back around with students in the future and do like more of a sort of survey kind of project. Ed Smith, if we want to make the results public to the city of Easthampton, we have to go through our institutional review board process. And that is time consuming and worth doing, both for the students and for the product. But I can't have them do that and another big data thing at the same time. And so that's a possible thing we could come back around. But my hope is that item will move forward sort of on its own momentum with Sophie in her position.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
And the only other question I have about that is just this whole issue of methane in the soil. And, whenever the city plants trees or whatever, it's important for them to know whether or not they're planting where there's a lot of methane in the soil, because then the trees will just die.
Yeah.
And some communities have had their municipally owned land surveyed for methane.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever talk about that?
I don't know that I necessarily have the equipment to do that.
Well, you can rent it, apparently. Or you can hire a company to do it for you.
Yeah.
Well.
I think we have there's the leak map for Easthampton that would maybe offer some hints of where the aging infrastructure is. My preferred solution to that is to actually work on the gas line disconnection piece of the problem in the long run.
Yeah, I agree. But nevertheless, if they're planting now and they're planting in a high methane area, what's the point?
Yeah.
The trees will die.
Well, it's hard because there's a lot of causes of tree mortality, salt, vehicles, deer, bears, that kind of thing. And so I would want to know that methane leaks. I don't think of Easthampton as a city with so many methane leaks that's like a major cause of tree mortality.
Well, we don't know that.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just not aware of people who work on urban trees in other areas for whom that's on their list of top 3 things that they feel like kills their trees. Having
I think Boston, there's this guy at BU who's like, this is his thing. I don't remember his name. And Boston, they found had a high percentage of dead trees that was caused by methane in the soil. But Boston, obviously we're not in the same.
Yeah, they
they
have some pretty ancient gas infrastructure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that with the Bees Committee too, they were looking at at some point talking to some of the other like Springfield and some other places that had done places where people could request trees.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different than the urban canopy
Yeah.
thing, but sort of encouraging a program like that locally where people could get a tree planted if they would like one. Somehow, but I don't know that that's gone anywhere. I'll see if I can resurrect that, or at least ask in our next meeting. I wanted to note a couple other things here, just coming back around to this. What was the one? Yeah, this 14, again, as we're talking about new buildings, like a sort of microgrid or energy storage type thing might be interesting. Obviously it made it in here, but if Lydia does end up joining us, I might put her on that, because she does actively work in solar development.
Great. Yeah.
That sort of thing. So see what sort of opportunities there might be for these sorts of things. I think that'd be a cool
that would be really great.
This is just a feasibility assessment, but the way everything's going, something tells me it would be feasible to do a project like this.
But that's true.
It was making me think a little bit about the thing that's kind of raging out there in terms of data centers. Is that within our purview?
Data centers? Yeah, it's interesting actually. What did I see? Was it did somebody send an email about? I think there's been some municipalities that are considering like putting a moratorium.
Yeah.
Or like say an outright ban on we won't have one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of reporting.
Yeah, I don't know if that was from this group or if I saw that somewhere else today.
maybe
Maybe it was in some other newsletter I got about it. But is that what that kind of what you're
But
thinking?
does that fall within our purview?
It could. I mean, it's energy, right?
It is energy.
And it's it's of interest. And it would, to do anything about it would require probably what a city council ordinance or you know, something like that. Or but we could certainly
My guess is that
start
there
a
might be,
conversation.
enabling legislation on the state side, so would enable communities
Mhm.
to either employ zoning or.
Right. Well, right, and that's back to the zoning thing too, right? It could be if could do that through the zoning, rezoning process, or like, you know, revisiting the zoning policies and rewriting those in some way that you would basically wouldn't allow a use case like that essentially, because it, that would be another way
Well,
to
it
do
isn't
it.
per se to disallow them, it's to direct their energy use in a way that works with what, what we're trying to do. I mean,
Right.
I don't think, I don't know, I wouldn't object if, if a data center also incorporated in their operation, cogeneration, or large scale solar or whatever.
Right. Yeah, well, that's the other trend, right? Is
Thermal.
to make sure that to put the onus on them to provide their own
Exactly.
energy.
Yeah.
And so again, that's something that we could do as a municipality, or would that be more like a state level thing? I don't really know.
Certainly happening at the state level. Minnesota has pretty good
Right.
policy on this. They just actually got a data center that was being built, and it's like not only are they building a ton of renewables along with the data center, but they're adding a relatively new long duration energy storage battery along with the facility. And there's been some talk, in certain policy spaces actually about if a data center comes in, part of the way they would meet energy demand is that they would pay for demand response in people's homes. So they would pay for people to get a, hot water heater that can respond to demand response signals.
Right.
And so that shaves the need for peak electricity and sort of makes the data center more peaceful. So I think I have a student group working on this too.
Okay.
But they're more looking at state policy, but I can sort of have them keep their eyes open about whether there are sort of local.
Ideally, it would be scaled in a way that enables the data center to be energy producers and sellers, right? Not just to offset or anything, but to
Right.
go beyond it. They would have the wherewithal to do it. It's actually a real potential opportunity.
Mhm.
Well, certainly this is the time, not to wait, do it proactively. It would be the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's, to what extent is Easthampton like an attractive target for something like that?
I'm not aware of sort of hyperscale data centers being built in the Commonwealth. I could be wrong about that, but we have higher than average electricity prices, which is probably a deterrent. Like the places that I associate with these sites are sort of rural spaces where there's a lot of land in the sort of center of the country, and then places like Virginia.
Right.
And I'm not really sure what.
Well, it's some land, but I mean, the high energy costs and just would encourage them to produce, to produce them. Why not?
Right, but then you'd have to also cite the renewables to do that.
Well, I guess,
Like if you're in northern Minnesota, you can build a ton of wind turbines and a bunch of solar, and they'll balance each other out, and then you just connect your facility with wires to the rest of the country, kind of thing. So that makes sense.
Yeah, the other thing here.
I think it's worth. I absolutely think this is worth keeping an eye on.
Yeah.
If we get wind that
Okay.
this is happening elsewhere, then it's worth thinking about.
Yeah, I think it's worth worth thinking about for any sort of like, large energy user that might be coming in. And again, I also don't know what the state of our, local grid is in terms of like what it could bear without
Well, that's a
having
different-
bearing the cost of upgrades
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And that's, utilities purview generally, but, something that we, again, would make it attractive or more attractive or not, depending on, how, how easy it would be to get stuff in and like have to, not pay for upgrades.
But it sounds like if we did want to do something, the state would have to first make it
Yes.
possible for the
That's what I'm
city to do
saying, you need the
something.
enabling legislation.
Yeah. I mean, there isn't something that the city could do right now.
No,
No, but I wonder in the city, when we were talking about like balcony solar and that sorts of things, like that's probably not something the city, that's gotta be state level too, I would imagine.
Yeah,
Since it
there's,
interacts with the utilities.
I can't remember if that language is in the bill or was an amendment.
Oh, in the
House bill.
Yeah. Right, I knew, been proposed.
Yeah, I think it's in there.
yeah,
Because, if and when we do that, I mean, obviously it's not called out in the action items here in the climate action plan, but I think that would very swiftly jump to the top of our list of things that we want to promote.
Yeah.
Right, and in terms of ease of use, anybody can do it, sort of thing, and like not, payback period's pretty reasonable, I would say, for most of them.
Yeah, it's got, this is interesting. It's got an amendment enabling solar procurement for public affordable housing. So, yeah. And then balcony solar, municipal net metering improvements, virtual power plants.
Separate thing here, can, like, Easthampton Housing Authority, can public housing do community solar? Can they sign up for community solar on behalf of their residents?
That is a great question. All the more reason I've been trying to find Sharon Kimball's contact info. And
I would think so.
Right, you would think so, and if that's like, I wonder what, if the housing authority like pays the electricity or if the residents pay. And if they're on like the discount rate, either way, you can still take advantage of the community solar and get the, get the bonuses and all that, but that would be a cool thing to be able to offer the residents and like, have a 10 or 20% off.
Mhm.
Even if the housing authority is not paying for it, like to get that and just like lower their costs.
Well, aren't they eligible now, but they just have, the residents, if they are eligible for community solar?
If they pay their own, yes, but if the housing authority is
Okay, I
procuring it
gotcha.
on their
Okay.
behalf, providing it to their residents, even if they bill them for it, I would assume the
I
housing
see.
authority probably. But I don't know.
That's a good
Most of the
question.
community housing or community solar, I should say, has, carve outs for low income.
Right, yeah.
So it seems like an easy way to get a bulk. So,
So just before we get off this topic, what things have we come up with for like, there's nothing on here that I would focus on particularly. It sounds like Alex has given himself a rather long list.
Well,
so
by my record, I've agreed to do two things. Ask the housing authority and reach out about Zipcar at some point, and then I have stuff that my students are already working on.
Right, and then we have some questions for Sophie.
Sophie, yeah.
and, well, one thing is we've talked about engaging with the city engineer a number of times. So Connie, would that be something you could try to reach out?
I don't think I could have enough of an intelligent conversation myself with the city engineer, but I'd be happy to ask the city engineer to come to a meeting.
I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah. Or even
Yeah.
if we set up a separate, time where a couple of us can come and meet with them, like during office hours or something like that.
I'd be happy to do that.
And you can put it under the guise of like the Council on Aging building and say, oh, we've heard, this new building, we were reviewing our climate action plan and saw that, when new buildings are being considered, we want all these factors to be, part of their passive net zero, like, and we want to understand the process of like what, if and when this building is going to get built somewhere, like who approves it, who does it, like
And that reminds me of just another question I just have as this comes up. The school buildings, there seems to be, what is happening with those buildings? It seems like that nothing
The old
is.
school buildings. That's a good question. I do not know. I
And
haven't seen an update on that in a while.
my understanding was those were both sold as being extremely energy efficient. They were going to do all the things that we could possibly want them to do at the time that they won the bids. But that was how many years ago now?
Several years ago now. Yeah, I don't know what's happened with the developer that was selected
Yeah.
or like what.
Well, weren't there two separate developers, one for each school? Or
I
am I
don't
wrong?
believe so. I believe it was all done in one.
I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah, there's not been any new information on that in quite some time that I've seen. That I don't know who would be overseeing that. Planning is overseeing that, or
I have no idea.
because I think it's the buildings got transferred to DPW, I believe, to maintain and to deal with this point. And I know, I know that I heard the police department was using one for a while for like
Right,
training.
I know a lot of excitement about that, yeah.
And then, Maple, they basically went ahead and just like turned that into a parking lot. I don't know if that's supposed to be permanent or what. They got rid of the playground there too, the whole thing. But I think, it's an open question as to what the next steps are, if that's still going forward or if there's going to be some sort of rethinking or redoing of that whole process. I can take on the reaching out to the planning department and
Okay.
being who might want to speak to there again at a meeting or just kind of get a nice sense of what they're focusing on right now and like some of these ask some of these questions, but we can get them to come to a meeting, that'd be great.
Great, okay.
And Sophie's got the detail, and I'll talk to the Parks and Recreation Commission folks as well about their procurement processes.
That'd be great.
Anything that they have going on there, again, because they may be doing a new small building or two in the park, and like I'd like to know more about that.
For new buildings, it's just so easy to design them to be energy efficient.
Right.
If you set out that way, so.
Exactly. I mean, I assume anything, the stretch code is gonna have to come into play for any municipal building as well. Okay, that's good. I think next one there was quick updates on the electrification
And the
and
yeah.
community first partnership. And as I mentioned, Hannah will be stepping down from there.
Yeah, it's really too bad.
But I know one thing with the Electrify program is that they've removed any sort of income designation there. So it's really available to anybody that wants to take advantage of that extra thing. It's still the type of thing that not many people know about, I think.
If we post it to the Easthampton Facebook page?
That's a good question. I don't think so. That's probably a good thing to put up there. Because it is, extra money available on top of the Mass Save money. And then again, the Community First Partnership, I don't have too much of an update there in terms of, I know, Hannah had several events they were doing, with Northampton and Westhampton. But I don't have too much more insight into what's going on with those. No, I don't know if they will continue running, hopefully, pull more people into the electrification and energy efficiency world. I'll keep you all posted as I go through the process with my house for heat pumps. Aggregation, yep. We were supposed to have a meeting with the mayor's office. It's been postponed. Good Energy had reached out, and so I don't have a new date for that yet. So we're still, I think, they're looking to just get the Mayor Darby up to speed on where things are at and where we're at with this. But it's just a matter of figuring out when we want to pull the trigger with that. But I haven't heard any full updates from them on like the pricing they're seeing and like what, when they might see things as being advantageous. It seems like given everything, we'd be able to do that, but I don't know how reluctant suppliers maybe to lock in,
Mhm.
long-term discounts right now. So that could be part of the issue. So I'll hopefully have a more full update on that next time around. On the green communities and climate leader communities, I will pull up something that Sophie sent that she said she met with the green communities regional coordinator on the 11th, informed that as a climate leader community, we are only eligible to apply for 125,000 per green communities PON, not the standard 250,000.
Why is that again?
Because the climate leader communities have additional grants that they can get that other communities cannot. So green communities, I guess, limits what a climate leader community can get from the green community.
Oh, I see what you're
program
saying. Okay, gotcha.
Because they
gotcha.
have additional pots of
Okay.
money available.
You're
So
gonna send that to me, right?
yes, I will. So coordinate with city leadership to determine if we want to move forward with lighting projects, or just apply for funding to support the purchase of a new e-transit van. They were going to request 147,000 for lighting, at $1 per kilowatt hour saved. They would instead need to apply to purchase a 2025 Ford e-Transit eligible for $30,000 towards the cost. So I'm assuming that's an electric.
Yeah.
I guess is that what we were talking about before, like
Yeah.
with handicapped accessible vehicle?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, they're big, the e-transits.
Yeah.
so.
Okay. And I guess that would be for. Yeah, I don't know if that would be.
Those are
for
cargo
council.
vans usually.
Right, that'd be for the council on
Ford ones?
aging or.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know who would be using it, if it would be for DPW to use or like council on aging or.
Because
something else.
last meeting, she talked about how they were gonna apply for some grants for the DPW vehicles. So I don't know.
Right. Yeah, good question. I don't have anything about that on here. But there is another thing here. They received project scope from Energy Source about weatherization and heat pump installation at the senior center. So I guess the current.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they're likely move forward with weatherization since Mass Save will cover the full cost.
Right.
Will not move forward with heat pump installation due to high cost and potential to explore a new space in the near
Yeah.
future. That makes sense.
Yeah, that building is a disaster.
Is it?
Well,
I've only
they
been in there
spent a lot of
once.
money trying to keep the basement from leaking
Yeah.
apparently, and they really gotta get out of there. There's no question about that.
Okay. Well, as we think about this, yeah, I mean, the climate leader certification again does open up other grant opportunities for us.
Mhm.
And I forget, I used to have like the bucket sort of carved out here. I have to look at it again. In terms of what's allowable, but if we do have, if in our discussions with other agencies in the city or other things that we think that be worth going after, like maybe Parks and Rec, it's like, oh, we don't even think about this stuff. Maybe
Yeah.
we can, maybe there's a grant that would be available to help them electrify like
Yeah.
all their maintenance equipment
Yeah.
or something.
Or maybe they just want to like talk to the Botanic Garden folks who are using a bunch of this stuff. About,
Right.
What their experience has been like and those kinds of things, so that could be kind of your educating mode. too.
Yeah, for sure. But there may be opportunities as we're thinking about this, like, oh, okay, well, no obvious funding mechanism for this,
Mhm.
but maybe there is something in the.
Yeah, so that would be great.
that we
Yeah.
could go after. Um,
Well, that's an argument right there for asking some of these department heads to come meet with us.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the mayor's office too, because I'm curious to know, what our current mayor is
Right.
thinking about from an energy perspective.
Yeah.
We haven't
Right.
really-
It would be great. I'm sure he is still very busy dealing with being a new mayor, but it'd be great if he could come meet with us.
Yeah, so I can do that outreach too. And,
Yeah, I mean, even just asking like at some point this year, it would be
Right.
great to meet with you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, sometime, you're right, maybe one of our next
Yeah.
meetings or something like that,
Yeah.
you could swing by for 20 minutes or something,
Yeah.
just chat. So I'll handle that outreach, see what we can do with that. All right, so the EDIC Business Recognition Program, I know Sophie was kind of just taking that and
Everyone just want to put
running with it. I think I just, she didn't give me an update on it.
Can you refresh my memory? EDIC stands for?
Yeah, it's economic development. It's the committee, local economic, city economic development committee,
Oh, what's the I?
industrial, industrial something, yeah. So yeah, it's also, I mean, it's a committee like ours, you know, volunteers, but they, focus on economic development and business. So what we had done with the climate action plan, or, you know, put together like a list of potential things that businesses could do or could be doing. And then the recognition program was just sort of, I'd call out those that have already taken some step towards sustainability or, you know, energy efficiency, eco-friendliness. It's not a huge barrier to entry, and then they would get some small recognition and like stickers and like things they could put in their business or to identify themselves. So, a previous member of the committee was also on EDIC and kind of had this idea to bridge that gap and put some things together. And Sophie, I think, is going to kind of run with it on some level that she can deal with handling. That's all for that. On the new and other business front, I just have one other thing here that Sophie had mentioned that I'll say, which is that I don't know who Denise Lello is, but met with Denise Lello.
Denise is sort of active in the climate, and I think she's might serve on the sort of sustainability committee at Northampton. She's a
Oh, that's right.
Smith faculty.
Oh, yeah. How do you
instructor.
spell her last name?
Lello.
Thanks.
So Sophie met with them to talk about gas pipeline replacement projects
Oh, great.
happening in Northampton and the community education campaign that she's spearheading to make people aware of electrification opportunities for heating and cooling. So GSEP, the gas system enhancement plan data for Easthampton, does not indicate any planned locations. She sent me a link to
Okay.
a map. For anyone interested. So I guess gas system, and there'd just be any gas infrastructure project that's being
Like, is
planned.
there imminent gas structure or
Right.
gas line replacement? So definitely we'll want to probably keep an eye on that as a committee. I don't know how often they take those.
Okay. All right. So that's the other thing that she mentioned. So that's, I guess, again, around some public education and awareness outreach around electrification and other things. Does anyone else have anything that we haven't covered that they would like to go over? All right. So our next order of business generally is to do some outreach among other groups and people within the city government and try to start connecting some of these dots and
Yeah.
making sure that energy concerns are being considered in major decisions.
Yeah, because we did like very blithely put these goals in, and a lot of the responsibility is on other people, on other committees or organizations in the city that, I mean, they were made aware of these at the time, but
They're overseen by the mayor, and the mayor should be
Yeah,
responsible for
yeah.
doing that. But we also had new elections, and change in leadership and those sorts of things. So
so it'd be good if we just touch base with these people. I think it's a good idea.
yeah, no, I think it is good for us to make those connections and build those bridges.
Do we have future meeting dates?
We don't. That's what I was going to say. That's the other thing we need to discuss real quick. Yeah, when our next.
Seems like Thursdays are maybe not ideal for you.
Yeah, does anyone have days that are good or bad? Generally speaking.
My Thursdays will change in May.
Okay, and you did make it on time today.
I would have been even earlier, but I hadn't got upstairs first.
Does anyone want to suggest a day other than Thursday?
I'm pretty open. I have some Thursdays that I have a conflict, but generally speaking, every day is fine with me.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting into soccer season here,
Yeah.
practices and things like that. So, but I can always.
Well, what does that, do you know enough about that?
I don't. Usually my practices when I've done them have been Monday and Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't have control over both my kids' practice schedules though, so it's good to But I also, those are, be early, I can always drop off, I can work out rides and arrangements and I can, for one day a month, it's not a huge issue. So I'm happy to keep it on Thursdays if we wanted to do, maybe we'll do April 16th as the next one.
That's the one Thursday in April that I
Okay.
have a conflict. I might be able to
Could do the 23rd.
make myself available.
but
That's
not
public
necessarily
school vacation.
week, so I don't know how.
That's not great
Yeah.
for me.
I can make myself available on the 16th.
Yeah.
I think I can.
What,
Yeah.
you will not be available.
But
Okay.
you're not available at all. Okay.
Do we want to do the day before or the Tuesday or Wednesday that week? Is that
Like the 15th.
the 14th or 15th?
Either of those is fine with me.
Yeah, I think I could make either. The 15th is a little tricky for me. But let me work with.
14th, okay, Tuesday, the 14th. Tony?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah.
Yeah, I can make it work. Hold on.
Yeah, looks okay.
And we can just stick with, Tuesdays again, we'll plan out sort of quarterly.
So do we want to do May, try to find May's date as well? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on just a second.
And we're saying 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Is 6 better for you?
6 is definitely better for me, due to the pivot, you can like come in hot with all the kids
Right.
at 5 PM and try and get them bathed and partially fed before I abandon.
All right, so let's say the 14th at 6. And then we'll stick with the Tuesday. We could then go to May 19th.
Yeah.
I guess the one thing is I gotta check whether this room is available on those days or if there's somebody else. I don't think we've had a problem with Tuesdays, but just in case we have conflict. with
Steve, do you care that that's the Democratic meeting that night?
Well, I was wondering, now you're talking about the April?
Yeah.
Yeah.
May, I'm talking about May, May
Oh,
9th.
May.
I have down I don't go to those meetings, but
Oh, so they must be have they moved now to the 3rd? That's the 3rd?
that might not even be accurate anymore. I have that in my
No, that
calendar, but
is
they
it.
may have changed it at some
Well,
point that I'm
I
not
don't have
aware
anything
of.
on my calendar that says- May, hold on, May.
So right now.
What was that date again?
The 19th, May
Oh,
19th.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything.
The other thing happening on the 14th there, Alex, is the Housing Authority has a hybrid meeting
Yeah.
at the same time.
So we would invite them for the 14th. That's fine.
Mhm.
I'm confident that they will still have housing in need of energy retrofit when May rolls around. So.
Probably. Yeah, so the 19th would work in terms of like this conference room is available. So we can do that. That gives us an extra week in between, and then June 16th or 23rd. They keep it consistent.
I cannot do the 23rd. I could do the
Do
16th.
the 16th then.
Well, before we start to map out, unless you're saying that if we do map out, you can accommodate your soccer schedule.
Yeah, I
want to
can-
know about more about your soccer.
No, I can accommodate one day a month. It's
I
fine.
see, okay.
All right, so April 14th, May 19th, June 16th. That would be the next 3.
Okay.
All at 6 o'clock, all in this room. Okay, we'll get that. And I'll send that to technology so they can send me a link for everything. With that, think we have anything else? That's been it. All right, then, we're ready to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.